It's going to have good money in it when we collect it after all that. Okay, so this week's Parsha is Parshas Vayeitsei. It is a very long Parsha, one of the longest in the whole Torah. I think it's like fifth longest. How many Pesukim is it? Give me a second. It is 148 Pesukim. So it's up there with one of the, I think Vayishlach next week is longer.
Any special notes?
Any special notes? No. Next week is longer, 154 Pesukim. So we got a couple of long things. No special notes. However, there are no natural paragraphs. So from when you start the parasha until the end, it is completely full. There are no gaps. So when you start Aliyos, right, and you're in the middle of looking, most aliyahs in the Torah, they start at the beginning of a paragraph, or at least you've got 2-3 lines in a paragraph. You can use a visual. But Parshas Vayeitsei, so Parshas Vayeitsei is one of the ones that is not like that. So every aliyah is bang in the middle somewhere. So it's hard to find. And then you play the game, right? Because you show the person the aliyah, and a lot of people have the custom to close the Torah, which is what a lot of people do. Some people say you can leave it open, but you just look to the side, so it doesn't look like you're reading the blessings from. But a lot of people, the custom is to close the Torah. So, right, you find the place, oh, good, I found the place, then you close the Torah, you open it again, you got to find it again. So, Vayeitsei is always the one that catches people out. And then everyone always tries to tell you what the first words are. And I'm like, I know what the first word is. I've got to find it. So that's, you may find it, it's a little bit difficult. And then again, in a couple of weeks' time, Parshas Miketz also has no gaps. So I'm going to warn you all that when I put this shiur on YouTube, it's going to be not made for kids. You have an option whether it's made for kids, not made for kids. Because we are going to be discussing adult themes. So, adult themes in this week's Parsha, yes. I said a few weeks ago, I quoted the Parsha Chayesara, the Hugh Grant film, right? 4 weddings and a funeral. So this week we also have 4 weddings, right? We have Yaakov getting married. So let's go through a resume of the Parsha that we like to do, and then we'll get into some things that you may or may not find fascinating. So at the end of last week's Parsha, we discussed Yaakov snuck in and stole the brachos, pretending to be Esav. Esav found out. I must say something that somebody in Anshe Emunah told me, and I've forgotten his name. The big tall guy who sits by the mechitza with the arms. I've forgotten his name. Big tall fellow. He sits on that chair with the arms by the mechitza, between the bimah and the mechitza, and one of those. Anyway, I can't remember. He said something really after my own heart. So the word zeh in the Torah, according to most opinions, is pointing. When you say zeh, you're pointing this specifically. When it says Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, this is the moon, and that's how you know it's a new month. They say Hashem showed him the new moon. This. Whenever it says zeh, it's like pointing. And when I'm laning, right, with my flamboyant laning, I like to point with these sort of things. So at the very end last week, when Esav comes back in, right, we said it's like a movie scene, right? The music must have been do as Esav is walking in, right? The very heart-beating music that you get as Esav is coming in, literally as Yaakov is walking out. Ach yotzo Yaakov. I saw in a medrash that says that why didn't Esav see him? It's because Esav's eyes were adjusting from being outside in the daylight to being in the darkness, so he missed Yaakov sneaking out, but they were literally there. So what does Esav say when he hears that Yaakov took the brachas? He says, Vayakveni zeh pamayim. That this tricked me 2 times. As bechorasi lokach, he took my birthright. V'nei ata lokach bechorasi, and now he took my blessings. But it could also mean it. Instead of he, it could be it. Vayakveni zeh pamayim. This tricked me twice. It took my birthright, and now it took my blessings. So said this guy, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Anyway, should be a good zechutz for him that I'm saying his Torah in the shiur. Said that it refers to the bowl of soup. Because what did Yaakov give Esav all those years back? When he sold him his birthright, he gave him a bowl of soup. Right? Lentil soup. Have you ever had lentil soup in your life? Does anyone of you? You made it special for Shabbos? Very okay. Lentil soup. Okay.
Very healthy.
Okay.
We only get chicken soup for Pesach.
You only get chicken soup for Pesach, right? Okay. Okay.
Once in a while,
So
I make vegetable soups.
he gave him a bowl of soup. And now Yaakov came in feeding his father, and his father was full. So he said, maybe he brought in that same bowl, right? They didn't change their bowls that often in those days. You know that from Yaakov. He went back to get the small jugs. So maybe it was the same bowl that he fed the soup all those years ago. The 50 years ago bowl of soup that he, the 48 years ago bowl of soup he now used to bring in the food to his father. So he noticed that bowl and he said, he said, this bowl tricked me twice. This is the same bowl that I sold my birthright to, and now this is the same bowl that's feeding my father and stealing my blessings. So I really enjoyed that pshat, right? Because like pointing this bowl here on the table. He recognized the bowl, right? The ones with the same stain marks, right? Oh, yes, I recognize that bowl. So I just wanted to say that. That was...
anything in the bowl?
Well, presumably food that Yitzchak had just eaten the second time, right? Because Yaakov bought him all these beautiful foods. So what did he bring it in? He didn't hold it in an aluminum pan, right? So he probably bought it in the same bowl. How many bowls do you think they had? The same bowl from soup. So he bought it in. Anyway.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to Gary last week when we were sitting at the table.
Uh-oh.
Do you think that his father was aware of, Asa's father was aware of what he was really like? Because they're always saying how, all the sages are saying how, they feel that he gave him like a chance, it was his son, and it was his older son. But do you think he was aware of what his whole makeup really was?
So like I said last week in my share, that according to the opinion that we discussed last week, Yitzchak was really going to give Yaakov the blessings. Yitzchak was really going to give Esau the blessings, because we knew only one son of Yitzchak will be the continuation.
Right.
And Yitzchak was really going to make that Esau. And Hashem orchestrated it that it will be Yaakov, which is why at the beginning of this week's Parsha, Hashem agrees with Yitzchak. Right? So Yaakov is running away. Okay? He's running away. And he has this dream. Again, there's so much to talk about, but let's just take it at face value. He sleeps on the Har HaMoriah, the Temple Mount. He has this dream. He sees the angels going up and down. According to the Ramban, this was like the Bris Bein HaBesarim, the dream that Abraham had many years earlier, where Hashem showed him the 4 nations of the world.
Right.
So it says the Ramban, that's what Yaakov saw, the nations going up and down. The angels were the different nations that were going to serve the Jewish people, going to go into Galus. And Hashem said, you are the chosen one. Let me get it. I should be using these chumashim so we can be the same page as you guys, right? Yeah. Hashem said very clearly that you, right? What did Hashem say? Ani Hashem lekei Avram avicha v'lekei Yitzchak ha'aretz asher ata shoichei v'lerecha lecha etnenu l'zarecha. This is the first time Hashem spoke to Yaakov. Why? Oh, not why. But now that Yitzchak had chosen Yaakov to be the continuation and not Esau, now Hashem comes and he agrees and says, right, now I'm giving you my own bris, my own covenant. You are the chosen one. You are going to get the land of Israel. So Yaakov has this dream. He wakes up. Now it's interesting. Because I was listening to somebody talking about this, it implies that Yaakov went back to sleep again. And I'm going to show you, which I never thought about before, right? Well, how do you know? Because it says here that Vayikat Yaakov Mishanoso, he woke up from his sleep, from this dream. He says, what an amazing place, and I didn't know, how could I sleep there? Right? This is the gates of heaven. Next, Vayashkem Yaakov Abok, he got up in the morning. That implies he went back to sleep again, which is a bit difficult, because if you don't say, how could I sleep here? This is such a holy place. And then 2 seconds later, hit the snooze button and back to bed. So that's just an interesting thought. Wait a minute, it implies, you could say it just means he was awake already, so now he's awake properly. He got his clothes on, right? He's now decided, you know what, it's 4 a.m, I'm awake now, right? You know, sometimes we wake up and think, should I get up, should I not get up? Anyway, so he gets up, and he runs off to Lavan's house. He comes, he meets the well, he sees Rachel by the well, and he goes to Lavan's house, and Lavan says, come stay with me for a month, right? And why a month? Because that's what HOAs allow, right? My HOA allows somebody to stay with you for a month. So he says, come stay a month, I can get away with the HOA. Then after a month, you can't get away from the HOA anymore, now you have to pay. So now if you pay your lodge, I'll get you on the details, I'll get you on the system, right? For a month, you sneakily get into my house. So he stays in for a month, very Floridian, of course. And again, there was so much to talk about. Where were these places, right? Laws, was it Haran, which we said could be in Turkey? Some people say, no, it's in Iran. Iraq area and so on, but if you think about how long it took to get there, and you're going back to the Temple Mount, Laws, all these places, it's huge debates at the beginning of this Parsha, where these places was, where the dream was, how did he get there, coming back. So there's lots to talk about, which we're going to gloss over to get to our adult themes. And then he goes to Lavan, he has 2 daughters, Rachel and Leah. I have a question about this in a minute, which I'm going to ask you. And it says, Eine Leah Rakos. So usually you've all been brought up to say that Leah's eyes were not good looking, right? And she was crying so much, and there's a whole debate about that. However, the Chizkoni explains that Rakos is an expression of beautiful, because he says, Rach Vatov Vayitel Elana. What did Avram serve his guests? Beautiful meat. Rach Vatov, beautiful meat, and he gave good, beautiful meat. So when it says Rakos, means Eine Leo Rakos. She had beautiful eyes. And then he quotes the Gemara that says, if a woman has beautiful eyes, you don't need to check the rest of her body. You have beautiful eyes, that's giving you advice. You know that she's good looking. Rachel didn't have good eyes. So now you have to see what's the rest of her like. Yifas Toav, Yifas Mareh. So she's beautiful. But that's how the Chizkoni explains. Completely the opposite is what we're taught. Eine Leo Rakos, she had beautiful eyes. Hence the expression, you've got beautiful eyes. Rakos. Okay, so he said, you know what? I'm going to work for Rachel for 7 years. And Lavan says, okay, 7 years. I could have given you 7 weeks. You said 7 years? Okay. Some people say that Rachel was how old? 5. So he had to wait 7 and 5 is 12 till she was old enough to sort of get married.
12?
Yeah, some people say she was 14. But either way, 12 or 14 leads me into a problem, right? So she was the younger sister, right? Leah was a little bit older. How much older? Couldn't have been that much older, right? Now, when Yaakov left the house of his parents' house, they said, go to my brother Lavan, go find a wife. The Gemara and everybody takes for granted that he was 63 at the time, he delayed 14 years, sleeping in the yeshiva of Shem Ve'eva, where he went and studied Torah. 14 years, 63 and 14 is 77. How old did he turn up at Lavan's house? 77. So even if you're going to say Rachel was 14, like one Medrash says, or if she was 5, like the other Medrash says, why did he say 7 years? A strange amount of time. 7 years? Well, and Lavan doesn't argue. He doesn't say, you say 7, I'll say 10. I mean, this isn't a good negotiation here. And we know Lavan was a big trickster over here, right? As we know. So he said, you know what? I'll give you 7 years because I want to wait till she's old enough to marry. That means that when Yaakov left his father's home, they weren't born yet. You follow the math? Right? Even if you say she was 14, that means she was literally just born. But certainly if you say she was 5, she wasn't born.
That's why we learned for 14
Oh, maybe. So as I was thinking, maybe that's why he thought, I better go learn. I got to go wait. So that means when he left, his wife wasn't even born yet. Right? It's interesting. You think about these sort of things, right? When people who get married later on in life, you think, well, you wanted to get married early, so where would your Beshet have been at that time? Okay, maybe drastically in today's day and age to say she wasn't born yet, maybe a little bit too drastic. But certain people are not religious yet, certain people, on their journeys or whatever. So it's just fascinating to think that without those 14 years, Rachel wouldn't have been born yet. Okay. Is there somebody here waiting to get in? Is that somebody? So therefore, it's just interesting to think. Okay, so he works 7 years for Rachel, and then of course, he thinks it's time for Rachel. Hello, welcome. What's your name? Aaron. I'm Rabbi Saunders. Welcome. You moved here? You live here? My
parents.
Oh, right. Okay. Where do they live?
Around the corner.
Oh, right. So you visited them for Thanksgiving, whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Have a seat. And if you want a drink of some sort. Okay, so he says, I work for 7 years. He works for 7 years, and now he gets tricked, and whoops, it's Leah. Okay? So he goes crazy. What is this? And Lavan with a straight face. Right? You think about some of the politicians today that could look you in the face and tell you one thing. Lavan with a straight face. Okay, I've just switched around your wives, right? You were expecting Rachel, and I just got in Leah. And you're screaming at me, and what if I turn around, I look you straight in the face, and I say, Lo also came bimkomeni. We don't do this here. To give the older daughter before the younger daughter.
You didn't say that 7 years
ago. So that's why you didn't say that 7 years ago. Or at least you could have let me know a few days before. He told him with a straight face. We don't do that here. Work for me another 7 years. I'll give it, with a straight face, he told him. So actually I saw the Or HaChaim is bothered by this question. It's all very well you're a trickster. It's all very well you're manipulating stuff. But I mean, come on, this is really... So he says that 7 years is a long time, as you know. So they expected, what would happen in those 7 years? Leah would get married. Because 7 years, if she'll find a nice boy, maybe she'll meet another guy at the well. So she expected that Leah would get married. So that's what they thought. Yeah, I'll let you have Leah, Rachel, because in 7 years' time, Leah will be married. And of course, she wasn't married. But still, it doesn't explain the idea. How could you look me in the straight face? So the Aruch Chaim's Pshat in the end says, what must have happened? He says, Lo Ya'esokein bimkomenu. I.e., it was the police department that didn't let me. I would have let you have Rachel bimkomenu, but the area, the laws of the town, I would have given you Rachel. It's not my fault. Bimkomenu, they stopped me. The police came. They said, sorry, we're not allowing Rachel to get married. Still doesn't answer, well, why didn't he just tell you? Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, okay. Then we have marries Rachel. Then we have all the children, which I'm going to come back to, because there's so much to discuss with the children. And the mandrake juice from Harry Potter again, another Harry Potter reference. Right? None of you. I spoke to my friends, my Harry Potter friends, and they agreed that the story of Toldos on the prophecies, very Harry Potter style. Anyway, so again, we have mandrake juice in this week's Parsha. Again, then eventually, Yaakov has 11 children, or 12 if you include Dinah, 11 boys, and he decides it's time to leave. And then Reuven says, okay, let's work out some payoff, some exit strategy, what's it called? You give somebody a bonus when they leave. Takes them 6 years to work it out. And they're Severance. Oh, that's a good word. Yeah, let's look at some severance. So they spend 6 years debating over the severance, and eventually Yaakov realizes, right, I have to run away because I'm never going to leave here. So I just have to. Right, he keeps turning down my resignation letter. Right, he keeps telling me.
The thing going there, it was working for him.
Okay, but still, he wanted to go home. He wanted to get out of Reuven's house. Right, it wasn't exactly the most conducive place for a Yiddish guy, perhaps, and so on. He eventually moves away. Now, it's all very well you think about Yaakov running off in the middle of the night. So usually when you think about people running off, you think, rush off. But he left with 4 wives, right? 12 young children, including Dinah, right? Hundreds, thousands of sheep and cattle. This wasn't just some quick running off. I mean, this was like, okay, let's go, come on, see this thing, trying to escape, So, and also, no wonder he got caught, right? It wasn't like he was slipping away. He was like taking the whole thing, the noise, and can you just imagine? You wake up in the morning, where's all the 25,000 sheep that were here this morning, right? So he doesn't matter. You think he's escaping. Yeah, he did escape, but it wasn't, wasn't like the Great Escape movie that we watched when we were kids, that I used to sing tunes to on Rosh Hashanah, that I tried to do it here in America. Nobody knew what I was singing, because I don't know, do you not know the Great Escape movie?
Yes, wasn't that Steve McQueen?
Yeah, that's the one, yes. Do, 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 do. So we used to, it's a very common song in England to sing to lots of things. So I used to sing that here. Nobody knew what I was talking about.
It's
I used
a accurate movie.
Right. So where was I? So there wasn't quite a jailbreak, that style, right, with all his thousands of sheep. Eventually they get caught. Reuven wants to kill him, and Hashem says, hold on a minute, not so fast, don't, Reuven says, wait, I would have given you a whole party, a leaving do, a surprise party with music and dancing and all this sort of stuff. But then the final bit, he says, Lama gonavtos Elohoi, why did you steal my gods? Which last year, if you remember, we gave a whole speech about what these gods were, which is frightening to think about how they actually did these things. They would check people, the Teraphim, and how it worked. We discussed all of that last year, which is probably available on YouTube as well. And then eventually Yaakov says, whoever stole them won't live. He obviously didn't realize that Rachel had stolen it. And then they finally is away from Reuven. So that is a basic overview of the Parsha. But I want to hone in on the birth of the children, because this whole idea is absolutely fascinating. Okay? Let's just go back to it, and we'll just go through it very basically, and then I want to say some fascinating, amazing things. In my opinion, as I say, the Torah is always amazing. The Torah is always fascinating.
152.
So, we know that Leah was tricked and given into Yaakov instead, and then he marries Rachel. So he ends up now with 2 wives. So all of a sudden, Hashem sees, Vayar Hashem kisnu aleo. This is now page 152. We're in chapter 29, verse 32. Hashem sees that Leah is hated. Vayiftach es rachem, he opens her womb. She has a child, and she calls him Reuven. Why? Ki ra Hashem ba'ani. Hashem saw in my affliction. Ki ato yavani ishi. Now my husband will love me. I'll give him a child. We have a connection. We have a bond. Next, she has another child. She says, Vatomer ki shama Hashem's kisnua anochi. Hashem heard I'm hated. So she called him Shimon from hearing my hatred. Levi, he says, Atah hapam yilove ishi elai. My husband will be connected to me because I've bore him 3 sons. So she calls him Levi. So you see, she's quite scorned and feeling scorned over here. So we have to discuss all of this. Just parenthetically about Levi. So I saw also the Chizkuni brings down, or the Radak, which I have over there, I didn't bring it here. It says like this, very simple. Why all of a sudden the 3rd son? She's saying, now my husband will be connected to me. Because how many hands do people have?
Exactly.
2 hands. So it can only push 2 strollers at once. Because they didn't have double strollers in those days.
That's
So,
right.
yeah, so now I need my husband to pitch in. Although he was at work all day because he was in the fields all day, so I don't know. But anyway, so now I need my husband to help out at home, and he'll have to help me because I have 3 children. Okay, right. Then she has a 4th child, and she goes crazy. She says, "Hapam odes Hashem." Now I will thank Hashem. So what's now? All of a sudden now? Then, now and only then, after she had 4 children, does it say Vateira Rachel? All of a sudden, after Leah had 4 children. Rachel notices, Vateira Rachel ki lo yolda Yaakov. Rachel finally notices she had no children. What's all that about? Vatekane Rachel bachos. All of a sudden now she's getting jealous. Well, why didn't you get jealous with the first 3 children? Why did you wait till she had 4 children? Why are we waiting so long? Why now? Then we have this whole debate. If you don't give me children, I'm going to die. I'm going to kill myself, according to some opinions. Okay. So she says, okay, Vatome, Hineamasi Bilha Boyalel. So she says, here is my maidservant Bilha, marry her, and she'll give birth on me. Okay. So she does that. Then all of a sudden Leah realizes, now we're going a bit further down, and we're at Pasuk 9, page 154, Pasuk Test, chapter 9. Leah sees she stopped giving birth. When did she stop giving birth? She already had 4 children. So she gives. Now, if you're going to translate it literally, she never discusses anything with Yaakov. Rachel says, she has a discussion with Yaakov, I'm going to give you my extra wife. Sarah, when she gave her husband, Hagar to Avram, they had a whole discussion. Here is my maidservant, take my maidservant, marry. A whole discussion. Do you want an extra wife? Do you not want an extra wife? Right? The whole discussion, we discussed it, let's sit down. Fine. But by Leah, it seems different. Because Leah, it says, she saw that she stopped giving birth. She took her servant. She just gave it to Yaakov. Doesn't seem that there was any discussion. So let's see what all that's about. Then all of a sudden we have a very strange story. The story of the Dudaim. All of a sudden, Reuven went in the time of the harvesting of the wheat. He found these Dudaim. What are they? So Rashi says they are jasmine or mandrakes. Translates here mandrakes. I have no idea what mandrakes are except for Harry Potter. The mandrake juice. Huh?
Mandrake the Magician.
Right.
Yes, I think that was an American comic.
No, I remember it. And it is,
well, Canada is part of America.
Yeah, I only hope.
Yes.
So
Saskatchewan apparently is leaving. It's maybe Alberta.
Okay, so we have these mandrakes, we have these Dudaim, and Rachel says, I want these. So Leah says, yeah, okay. But wait a minute. Isn't it not enough you took my husband away from me? Now you want to take these jasmine mandrake plants away from me? So Rachel, okay, you win. You can sleep with him tonight instead of these mandrakes or jasmines. Okay. And she has another child, Ben Chamishi, a 5th child. Hashem has given me my reward. Now, Yisachar is spelled Yud Shin Shin Chaf Reish, right? So if you're going to translate it, or read it with the 2 shins, it should be Yisachar, which some people do that the first time it comes. This summer they say Yisachar, but we pronounce it Yisachar. Our minig is to pronounce it Yisachar all the time. However, the Sefer, the Bnei Yisachar, which is a very Kabbalistic Sefer, which we have over here, he is pronounced Yisachar. Why? I don't know. Yeah. So it is. Why? Because there are 2 shins, 2 rewards. One reward she gave her husband, and one reward that she got an extra night with her. So what's all that about? What? Do I have a new fruits? Well, what do we need to know all of this for, right? And what pills they took beforehand? What do we need to know? Mandrakes, jasmine. Oh, very, very strange. all these births, and so on. It's also, and then Rachel, right? How can we miss out this? My mother's great vort. She always used to tease us with. All of a sudden, Rachel finally has a child, and she says, Hashem has gathered in my disgrace, and she makes a bracha, Yosef Elikim li zera ben acher. Hashem should give me another son. Why didn't you say another 10 sons? Why another one son? Okay.
Yeah, that's easy.
But Rashi says, what does it mean, Asaf Elikim Chel Pasi? So Rashi says, this is what my mother used to tease us about. She says that Shayisi Chevash and Rekava, Hayu Oimim al She'ele Lechelka Shelarat. Umedru Shagoda. Kol Shman She'ein Ish Obein. The only time a woman doesn't have a child, Ein La B'mi Lisloi Sulchana. She has nobody to blame for things going wrong in the house. Meishiv La Bein, Toila Bein. Mishav Akliza. Who broke this? It wasn't me. B'nei, it was my son. Mi Achal Te'enim Elu. Who ate the food in the fridge? B'nei, it was my son. So my mother used to say, see what are children good for? Blaming them for it. It comes from a Rashi. It's not a joke. The Rashi says that the reason why she called him Yosef is because now we've got somebody to blame. Oh, right. So you see, we can blame the children, right? Oh, it's your fault. Everything's your fault. She used to say it as a joke, maybe half serious. A joke. Okay, so that's the children, the names of the children. Very strange, right? Now, I'm not a psychologist, and our psychologist is not here today, Raphael. But there certainly seems to be a lot of issues over here, right? A lot of stuff. Number one, and number two, don't they always say, don't pass on your issues to your children, right? You have issues, whatever. Don't give them over to the children. Don't pass them on. And number three, a name is very,
Your children are your issue.
Yeah, that's that's Rachel, right? And the third deal is, we know that a name is very special. The Rambam says in the olden days, because now we don't have the ability to know it necessarily, in the olden days they would name people, as you see in the Torah, based on some Kabbalistic. They would know what the guy was. Yishmael, Hashem heard me. Well, that's what Hashem told him. Yitzchak, because we laughed. So they would name the child based on that. But we don't have that ability today, because we are not stuff. So we call after the name of our parents, grandparents, although I know a lot of Israelis nowadays like to call people by names and about stuff. Okay.
But we do.
Go on.
If you name your child, our custom is to name after a deceased relative. And
right.
The Mios Tovos of that child.
Right, but here they didn't name it after anybody. They made up names based on the stuff. So that means your name is really special to you. It's not like just a made up thing. Your name is your essence. So why are we calling all these children the essence of all these scary things? Your essence. I was hated. I was hated. So it's a very strange thing to understand. So again, we don't have time to delve in and to explain everything, but I just want to bring out a couple of points that you may or may not find fascinating. And I have here the halacha sefer, as we say. Everything comes back to halachas, because why was Yaakov hating Leah? Right? So normally we think to ourselves, okay, he wanted to marry Rachel.
Why was he telling only for Leah?
Right.
I heard he grew to love her.
Right, after all these times. So, okay, so you have the Ramban and others who say it doesn't mean she was literally hated. It means that he loved Rachel a little bit more, so by definition she's hated. However, there are opinions that say like this, that Yaakov was annoyed with Leah. Why? It's all very well, Lavan is a trickster, right? He's deceiving you. Oh, come here. You're going to marry him instead. But he was really annoyed with Leah. Why? Because Leah should have said something to him. Oh, by the way, I'm Leah. But she tricked him too.
Did they look?
Leah was... Well, it was dark, so they didn't see. I don't know. But they didn't know until the morning. That means the whole night she kept her tongue, held her tongue. She was very... So Yaakov was annoyed with her as well. But you should have said something, right? You should have... You slept with me on false pretenses.
When you say it was dark, they got married outside in the dark?
No, because it was at night. I don't know. It says Vahi Baboka in the morning, because at night time, I don't know, they couldn't see. It's Vayeitsei loves Vahi Ba'erev. Yeah, no. The pasuk says clearly Vahi Ba'erev. It was in the evening, so it clearly says it was in the evening.
He didn't see.
No, it was dark. They didn't see. it. But Leah said nothing. She kept stum. She should have said something. By the way, it's me. I'm Leah.
Yaakov gave
exactly. We gave Simonim to Rachel. She gave, exactly. So therefore, by the fact that Leah is now using these Simonim, these codes, these passwords, So she is definitely complicit in this. I mean, come on. We don't think of it necessarily that way, but Leah was definitely complicit in all of this. Now, she was desperate to marry Yaakov, right, who wouldn't necessarily, right? She wanted,
there was competition between the two of them.
Oh, but now we're looking about from Yaakov's perspective, right? So Yaakov was like, wait a minute, you tricked me here. You should have said something. You didn't say something. You used the codes, the passwords, the tricks that I discussed with Rachel. Yes, Rachel gave them to you, but you should have said, it's me. It's Leah. What should we do? And then Yaakov would have made a choice, right? But he didn't. She didn't. So there was a little bit of annoyance between Yaakov and Leah. So there was a little bit of standoffishness, however you want to understand it. And Leah felt that, so therefore, that's why with these children, all of a sudden, the more children I have, the more I bring him back to me, right? Okay, yes, I tricked you, but all right, that was old news. Now I got 1 son, 2 sons, 3 sons, and so on. However, I'm going to show you something here in the halacha. So the halacha in Hilchos Orach and Hilchos of having sexual relations says there's 9 people. Well, you're only supposed to have relations with your wife, but 9 situations with your own wife that one shouldn't have relations with her. And one of them is if you hate them. If you come to a situation where you're hating your wife, if you're not on good terms with them, the Gemara says you shouldn't have relationships with her, because if you have a child out of that union, somehow the child is in some way tainted. Why? Because you were thinking of another woman, you were thinking of something else, and in the days when you used to have 2 wives, you must have think about the other wife, right? There's all these deep ideas, right? When you're infusing in a shamar and you're combining stuff, if you're thinking about somebody else and all this sort of stuff, it can be very damaging. Okay, so now the Mokin Avram, on the side of this is Reish Mem in Or HaChaim, asks the question, wait a minute. Tamura, you're not allowed to have relationships if you've swapped over your wives and you don't realize it's the right one. I want to have a relation now with this wife. So now it's my other wife. Okay, whoops. But Tzarich Iyun, it's a question. Hello, Yaakov nischaven l'Rachel. Yaakov that night he thought he was having a relationship with Rachel, but who was he really having a relationship with? Leah. And we know that the child of Reuven is one of the Shvatim. He's one of the 12. I mean, we can't ask a question on Yaakov because he didn't know. He thought it was Rachel. So he's not blameful. He's not blamed in this, right? And it was his wife after all. They did get married, so it's not like he was, a woman from the street. This was his wife, but he was tricked. So we're not blaming Yaakov. The question is, how could Reuven, if we're saying that the child is somehow tainted in whatever way that is, how could he then rise to be such a great, one of the 12 tribes, you think? 12 tribes, the Jewish tribes, that must be pure, they must be holy, they must be special, they must have some greatness. And you're telling me this is the relationship from a one, right? And he quotes Psukim, the Gemara, about Hashem says, whatever. So he answers like this, and he quotes, and this is from the Raman Pano, from Pano in Spain, I think, who was a great Kabbalist and wrote on the Gemara and explanations of the Gemara, great rabbi. And he wrote a book with Asar Ma'amoros. He says, Shemishum zeh, because of the fact that Reuven was somehow tainted in some ways, because his father was thinking of a different woman at the time, that Reuven was one of the 2 tribes. Okay, Manasseh split half and half, but it wasn't their thing. Moshe split them and said, you go with them. Who were the 2 tribes? Reuven and Gad. That Reuven didn't inherit Israel and therefore wasn't buried in Israel. Why? Okay, we know the story. They didn't want it. But why did this whole thing come about? Because on some way he was not quite as good as everybody else because of his father's thing, and he was tainted in some way, however you understand this sort of thing, and therefore he wasn't meriting to be in Israel, and therefore that's why he took off the other side. And there was one other tribe that wasn't in Israel. What was that? Gad. Vayanu b'nei Gad b'nei Reuven. Gad and Reuven. What was also special? What was also about Gad? What did we say? We said that it doesn't say that Leah had a whole conversation with Yaakov about giving her this maidservant business, right? Rachel, we have a whole discussion. Take her, it will be like I'm having children, just take her. By Sarah and Avram, take my maidservant. But by Leah, just says, come here. Right, good, right, excellent, goodbye, and we have another child. Doesn't seem like, again, there was this discussion going on. And what does she call him Gad? Why? Because she says, Vatomi Leah, Bo God. 2 separate words, Bo God. I've got good mazel. right? Maybe that's where the expression comes. Come to me a mazel tov, right? Bogod, it comes good mazel. But we read it as one word, bogod. Says Rashi, because of the expression of bogade, traitor. What do we say? Oshamnu, bogadnu. We've been traitors to God, right? It's part of the second of the sins that we say. Oshamnu, bogadnu, gozalnu. Because on some level, God was also a traitor. Why? Because Yaakov thought that he was having a relationship with Leah. But really, he was having a relationship with Zilpah. So he was also in some way tainted like Reuven. And that's why he also couldn't be in Israel. So who are the two tribes that didn't go into Israel or didn't inherit Israel, weren't buried in Israel? Gad and Reuven. And those are the two tribes, and now this is not me saying it, this is Marami Pano, so he's a great Rishon, right? He says things like this, it's not me making it up, right? Brought down in the Mogin Avram on the side of the Mishnah Shulchan Aruch, not some little sefer somewhere. This is based on halachic thought, right? And I like to say, when things enter the realm of halacha, is different. Because you've got pilpul in your head, you've got many different interpretations, explanations, we all know that. That's what Yiddishkeit's all about, right? Right, 2 Jews, 150 opinions, right? And it's great. Look how many books there are on the Chumash, right? You know, everyone has a different thought, different explanation. This bowl, that bowl, the same soup bowl, yeah, great. But when something becomes a halacha, right, and it's involved in a halachic discussion, that elevates it to a different level because we governed by halachos. That's how we live our life. So if something makes it into the halachic thing, it's much more, I was going to say much more meaningful, but that's a bad word to use. It's much more, anyway. So it comes in here, those are the two tribes, based on the stories of how they were conceived. Now, let's come back to Yisachar and these mandrakes and these jasmines. What on earth is all this story? Okay? How do we understand all this story? So, I was hearing in a shir and it quoted from the Al-Sheikh. I used to learn the Al-Sheikh when I was in yeshiva all the time. It's Al-Sheikh is known as Al-Sheikh HaKadosh. He was one of the 4 people known as a Kadosh, a great rabbi, and he has a really deep understanding of the Parsha. And I haven't learned it for many, many years, and it's not here, and I don't have it at home. So I looked at it on Safaria, and so on. And he says like this. Again, this is really, really fascinating stuff. Yes?
Where is it on Safari?
If you go on Safaria, you go on to Torah, it goes on to Tanakh, and then it goes through all the 24 books, and underneath it has all the commentators.
Oh,
So you look
under the Parsha.
Yeah, that's right, Al-Sheikh, and it's 29, chapter 29, one of the things there. So I looked at it on Safaria, and really, it's like blows your mind, and says like this. Let's keep it as short as we can. The Torah goes out of its way to tell you when did this story happen, b'mei ketzir chitim, in the time of the reaping of the wheat. When in the Torah is the halacha to reap wheat? On Erev Shavuos. We have to go down, we have to reap, we have to cut wheat, and we take it, and what do we do with it? We offer it in the Beis HaMikdash, a wheat carbon, on the first day of Shavuos. So when is the time in the Torah that we need to take wheat? The first Erev Shavuos, before Shavuos. That would be the 5th of Sivan. Correct? You got with me? Shavuos is the 6th of Sivan. On the 5th of Sivan, they go down, they cut away the wheat, they bring it, they make the halechem, the bread, and they bring a carbon with it. We also find in Megillas Rus that we read on Shavuos, it says, "Vayhi makes Ketzir Chitim," was the time of the wheat harvest. So we know the wheat harvest is synonymous with the time of Shavuos. So says the Al-Sheikh, when did this story happen? The fact that the Torah says Ketzir Chitim means it happened on Erev Shavuos. On Erev Shavuos. How about Erev Shavuos? What's special about the night after Erev Shavuos, right? Which is the night that Yisachar was conceived, right? Because that's what we're talking about. You're giving me the stuff. You'll go sleep with him tonight. So that night is the night of Shavuos. The night of the giving of the Torah. The night of Matan Torah. The very special time that is infused of the energy of Torah. Yisachar. He did what? He is the archetypical guy who sits and learns Torah, right? It says Yisachar sat and learned Torah, and Zevulun would give him money, right? So Yisachar Yodei Bina, the Mishnah, the Pasuk says, Yisachar was the one that taught Torah. He was the one who sat and learned Torah. Why? Because he was born when was he conceived? The 6th of the day, right? The day of Shavuos. And we know, says the Ashech, 3 things make a person's mazel, right? We know the day he's born, whatever is. We also have discussed the day of a bris. The day a boy has a bris, that's the real day he becomes born. And that's why I like to celebrate 3 birthdays every year. My English birthday, my Hebrew birthday, and the anniversary of my bris, which was actually 3 weeks after my birth, because I had the sticky eyes. So the day that you have a bris is a very special day, because that's when you become new again, and that's when you become pure. So those are the 3 days that I like to celebrate my birthday. So we have birthday, whatever mazel that is woo. The mazel of your bris day, woo. But also, the day a person is conceived. It also is very special to knowing the essence of the person or whatever. We've discussed in the past, when was Moshe Rabbeinu conceived? The 7th. How do we know that? He was born when? The 7th of Adar. 9 months before is the 7th of Sivan, which is why they say
he was 3 months early. He was a preemie.
Well,
He
it's
had to be, because otherwise the Egyptians.
All
all right, but that's a
would have
different
known.
medrash. Okay, but that's one medrash. But the Parsha is he was born properly, and therefore he was conceived when? The 7th of Adar. Well, you're going to say, even that way, he would have been born on the 7th of, that was his day of due date then. Okay.
Yes,
but that's the day that he was
EBC.
conceived, right? Which is why Moshe Rabbeinu pushed off the giving of the Torah. Right? The Gemara says he pushed it off one day. Why did he push it off one day? He didn't want Yisachar to take all the glory. He wanted it to be on the day he was conceived, right? So he pushed it off a day. So you see there's this great idea. Now, most people don't know when they're conceived. Most people don't tell them when they're conceived, right? So nowadays it's hard to know. But in those days, the day of conception was really, that was really something, okay? That was really something. It was Erev Shavuos. They all knew that tonight, the 6th, is going to be a really special night of giving of the Torah of Kedusha, as the fact that we see that Yisachar was the Torah man, right? He was the big Torah fellow in the whole of Yiddishkeit. We know that. So all the Amos, and you have to, for understanding these parashas, they must have known there was only going to be 12, which is why Rachel only after 3 children. When Leah has 4, she now gets upset. Why? Because she has 3, you're meant to have 3. And the others will have 3. They knew there was supposed to be 4 wives. That's the only way you can make sense of why she's giving maidservants and all this sort of stuff. So now all of a sudden, when Leah has a 4th child, now Rachel is jealous. Hey, wait a minute. You got 4? So who's going to have less? You're going to have more than me. Now there's jealousy. So that's a very quick way of why all of a sudden now she had 4. And that's why Yehuda, now 4? Oh, I've got something I don't deserve. Hapam Modes Hashem. Now I'm going to be really thankful to Hashem. Because the first 3, that was coming to me. From whatever. That's how it was meant to be. Now I have a 4th. Now I'm more than I expect. So basically, they all knew that they were supposed to have the child born, or conceived rather, on the night of oh yes, that also means Yisachar was also born. If he was conceived on the 6th, he was born the day before Moshe Rabbeinu. Ooh, interesting. I wonder how that plays out. Ooh,
But
the
we
6th of
don't-
Adar.
we have a
Interesting,
custom
interesting.
today of not having Biyah the 3 days before Shavuos. So none of us could do that.
No, it was only the time of Matan Torah. Nowadays, you can do what you want. There's
That's
no
not-
prohibition
that's not
nowadays.
the custom I was taught.
Right, but halachically, there's no reason.
Okay.
Maybe some people want to have kedusha, so they don't want the same as that, but you're allowed to, no issue. So going back now to this stuff, and now you know why I said this is going to be a not made for kids warning when I put it on YouTube. So they both knew that whoever's supposed to be born tonight, that's the special child, right? I mean, not special. That's the one for Torah. Everyone wants the Torah. So Rachel was a Korah. She didn't have children. Okay, Leah, she already had a few children. So now, it was supposed to be Rachel's turn tonight. We know that because she gave it up for Yaakov. So obviously that was supposed to be Rachel's turn. And Leah was obviously desperately trying to find a way that she could get in that night. So when they saw these dudaim, which according to the Ramban, was some sort of herbs that would help a woman become pregnant. Somehow that would be a way of helping. You take it, you smell it. Maybe that's why women like to have nice aromas and smells and love in the house, right? It comes from this. Rachel, apparently these smells gave off a special smell that it was able to help a woman conceive. Okay. That's what the Ramban says, how you have to understand what this was all about. So she saw these dudam, she's like, woohoo! Now I've got a real good chance. Because now I see these dudam, I've been looking for these all the time, waiting for these to help me. Now I see them. Now I'm hoping that I can find somewhere to help me have a child. And Leah sees this opportunity. Ooh, you want to take these? Fine. But I'll be derech hateva. I'm not going to have a child tonight. Because you haven't had a child for all these years. So I've had 3 children, or 4 children at this stage rather. I've had 4 children. It's more likely I'm going to be able to have a child. So you know what? You take your mandrakes, your jasmines, and that will help you. Good. on condition that you give up tonight for me, because I've had 4 children already. So the chances are that if I am sleeping with Yaakov tonight, there's more chance I'm going to have a child, and therefore that's the deal they made. Rachel said, "Okay, you're right. Through these jasmines, I may be able to have a child, but the chances are working tonight are not so strong. So you take the opportunity." And that's why Leah was so desperate for this opportunity, because they knew that tonight was the special night that the child born tonight will have a special infusion of Torah, of Kedusha, of whatever. And also you have to say, because there was obviously many periods, right? There were 7 years of all the children being born, right? So it must say that this year particularly, that Shavuos fell at a time when Leah could have had children, right? Because you're pregnant and you're giving birth and your time afterwards, right? There's a whole cycle of times. So it must have been that Punk this year was the time that it was right that she'd finished feeding, whatever the timings were, that now she knew, I'm ready again to conceive. Maybe the year before, the previous year Shavuos, she was pregnant with another child, so she couldn't conceive that night or whatever. But now she knew, here's my chance, finally, a chance where I can conceive on this special holy night. So that's just, as I say, there's so much understanding of these names and all sorts of things, and as we say, these deep things going on over here. There's so much to talk about, but we've gone over the time, and I hope that gives a little bit of an understanding as to some of these understandings. And then to finish off, so why did Rachel only say, "Give me one more child"? She said, "Yosef Hashem li bein achei," one more. She said, "Yosef Hashem li banim achei," many more children. Right? When somebody has a child, Mr. Hashem has so many more children. Just one more child? Why did she say just one more? And that goes back to the understanding that they somehow knew there was supposed to be 12. We said that how many children did Yishmael have? 12. Right? I wonder how many children Esau had. Let's count them in next week's Parsha, because there's some idea of 12. So Yishmael was the brother of Yitzchak. He also had 12. Yeah, some idea of 12. So Yaakov had 12. How many children did Esau have? I can't remember off the top of my head. So let's see. Ve'ela told us bnei Esau. Let's see. Who did he have? Eliphaz, Reuel, Yeush, Yalom, Korach. Oh no, he only had 5 children.
That's a nice number.
Okay, so he had 5. He didn't have 12. Yeah, he only had 5 children. Right. Okay, so he didn't have 12. I thought, if he has 12, it's good. No, he had 5. Maybe that would be too close for comfort. Both Yaakov and Esau having 12 children, but he also had 4 wives, didn't he? Didn't he have 4 wives? Wait, didn't he have 4 wives? I think I just remember just counting the 4 wives. Who did he have? Eile told Esav lokaches noshav. Oda, Aholivama, Bosmas. No, he had 3 wives. He had 3 wives. Okay. So he had 3 wives. Right, but I'm trying to say, right, they all supposed to have known that Yaakov was supposed to have 4 wives. But again, so there's a lot of interesting things. If you have an answer for this, when Yaakov left Haran, there was no Leah and Rachel in the world, so what were his parents thinking? Maybe they didn't know if they had any children. Find yourself a wife, maybe he has children over there. Maybe they, assumed he would have children. I suppose it is a logical assumption to make. Why? And maybe there were other daughters, because Yaakov at this age was 63. That means his parents were married for 83 years, because they were 20 years waiting for children, right? So that means 83 years. That means Rivka left Lavan's house 83 years earlier. You follow me? Right? And Lavan, if he would have had children, he could have had plenty of children these 83 years. Right? It's a long time. So maybe he did have other daughters. Maybe he had other daughters.
Lavan only had the 2 girls?
So this is what I'm suggesting. Maybe he had many more girls.
Or
maybe these are...
Where is it understood that there was only Rivka and Lavan as children?
You mean there could have been others, maybe?
Other children.
Maybe. Could have had more. But again, there's so much interesting stuff. Oh, yes, I remember now. Yes, some people say Zilpah and Bilhah were also his daughters. Right, yes,
There
okay. So therefore he had 4, right? So he could have had many other daughters.
Okay.
Right. So maybe Rachel and Leah were just 2 of his daughters. Maybe he had many, many, many daughters.
Because Zilpah and Bilhah would be older than the two girls, Leah and Rachel.
No, they're supposed to have been younger. I don't know. That's what they say. They were younger. That's why they were subservient to Rachel and Leah.
But usually when a child has a nanny, the nanny is older.
Oh, right.
Oh,
Or maybe.
Respectfully.
Maybe. Okay. Maybe. And, yeah. Okay, so that's as I say. There's a lot of fascinating, deep stuff in this week's Parsha. We'll see you all in Miss Hashem on. Oh yes, happy Thanksgiving. Last year we had a nice big event on Thanksgiving, if you remember, and we had turkeys walking around here. We didn't. And we had a nice shear and stuff. But as I say, it's my daughter's Bas Mitzvah on Shabbos. We're all busy with all of that, so we are here. Okay, have a good